wondering, what exactly is going on over at Archewell these days? When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle launched their charitable organization, it was branded as this ambitious global force for compassion. Archewell, they said, would uplift communities, fight misinformation, and champion equality. But 5 years later, after glossy announcements, Netflix deals, and speeches about service, what does Archewell actually do now? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Antoinette Chanel and welcome back to my channel. And let's start with the most recent impact report from Archewell. This is the 2023 to 2024 impact report that they quietly published back in April of 2025. Now, if you flip through this report, which is gorgeous, I gotta give them that, it's beautifully designed. But if you flip through the report, you're gonna notice there's one very key element that's missing from this impact report. Numbers. Archewell's latest impact report is devoid of numbers. So that means no donation amounts, no grant totals, and no detailed breakdown of how the funds were spent and what they were used for. None of it. There does seem to be a lot of buzzwords though, such as equity and community and healing, connection, those kinds of words. The report lists lots of partnerships and collaborations, but gives zero indication on the financial impact of these ventures. So there's a whole lot of we collaborated and we supported with $0 attached to any of this work. And that's odd because charitable organizations usually like to tout the impact of their numbers the most whenever they're bragging about their fiscal year. If you've raised millions or even thousands or hundreds for a good cause, why wouldn't you want to talk about that? According to previous filings, Archewell started strong in 2021 with around $13 million in revenue. And I've actually discussed their previous fiscal years in a prior video. If you want to take a look at that, I give a detailed breakdown of their earnings and charitable givings from their inception all the way through 2023. I had been waiting for the 2024 figures to be made available. By 2022, their donations had dropped to about $2 million, which was a roughly 80% decline in donations. Then in 2023, they somewhat recovered, bringing in $5.7 million in donations with about $3.3 million in expenses. But that's where the transparency fades. What we do know is that the foundation directed $1.3 million in grants last year, and that can be verified with sources from ProPublica as well as People magazine. Yet their so-called impact report doesn't tell us which organizations received that money or how that money was used. It's almost like Archewell is positioning itself as a brand rather than as a charity. And speaking of branding, while Archewell remains vague about its donations, the Sussexes remain crystal clear about their personal image. We've seen lavish spending on Meghan's wardrobe for the Invictus Games, and also continued focus on high-profile media ventures such as with Netflix or Spotify. But those projects and that spending has yielded more controversy for the charity than it has impact for the targets that the charity claims to be wanting to reach. Now keep in mind that this was the couple who stepped back from royal life because they wanted to go live a life of service. Yet today, their philanthropy seems more like a holdings company than it does an actual charitable force. Something to make it look like they are philanthropic without them having to actually be philanthropic. And the data seems to report all of this. Archewell's decline in donors suggests that they did not have donor confidence after their first fiscal year of operation. There's been very little evidence of large-scale fundraising or ongoing campaigns since 2021. And with headlines like the New Arabs report on Archewell cutting ties with a women's charity over an anti-Semitic mural, or the Times of India's revelation that over $600,000 went to politically linked organizations, the optics aren't exactly helping to boost donor confidence. Archewell simply doesn't stay top of mind for the philanthropic community. Its momentum has faded and its message feels increasingly hollow. Now, structurally, Archewell is incorporated in Delaware, And this makes sense in terms of privacy and flexibility. It allows them to control board structure and limit public disclosures. But the trade-off is that donors in the public just kind of have to take their word for it when it comes to transparency. Meanwhile, they operate in California, where charity oversight is much stricter. In fact, in 2024, Archewell was issued a delinquency notice, and that came from the California Attorney General's office because they had failed to file something on time. The issue was later resolved, but making errors like these don't instill confidence when it comes to donors. So, what does this leave us with? A foundation that once promised to change the world that's now functioning as a PR umbrella. An impact report full of slogans but devoid of substance. And a brand that spends more time being seen doing good rather than actually proving that it's doing good. Archewell could have been a model for how modern philanthropy meets media influence. Instead, it's now become an example of what happens when image takes precedence over impact. And maybe that's the real takeaway here, that good intentions don't always equal to good outcomes. And compassion without accountability isn't charity, it's just marketing. Those are my thoughts. My friends, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up so that other people on YouTube can be able to discover it. Also, if you like my content, consider hitting the subscribe button so that you can see all of my playlists and be notified when I upload to this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me, my friends, and I will catch up with you in the next video. Take care. You've just watched one of my videos, but did you know there's an entire Antoinetteverse? On my namesake YouTube channel, I dive into current events and share my critical commentary. Over on Instagram, you can keep up with my life as a writer and educational specialist. On the Write Life blog, I explore how reading, writing, and emotional expression help us to grow. And on my Substack, I publish personal essays and sometimes share sneak peeks from my upcoming book. Wherever you join me, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.